originally when the podcast was acquired by Barstool, they only had let's say 4 episodes in. So Barstool acquired it in 2018, and it kind of became a huge podcast. So right now, if you look on the Apple Podcast app, is Joe Rogan's number one, and then Call Her Daddy's number two. So obviously they've become a huge podcast since, right? So right now, as of I believe last night, Alexandra Cooper, Alex signed a deal with Barstool, so she'll be going back to Barstool, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems right now that she'll be doing the podcast by herself. So she'll be leading the podcast. Sophia, I believe she might be working on her own deal. We don't know what's gonna happen, but for now, Alexandra Cooper is the host of Call Her Daddy by herself, right? So originally, when the podcast was bought by Barstool, so obviously it was a duo. But she's the one that's been going into the meetings with Barstool. They went back and forth, and then she said to Dave Portnoy that, okay, look, it's a package deal. So they gave also a deal to Sophia Franklin. So that original deal was a 3-year deal, 75,000 each, plus bonuses. And in the second year they would make 85,000. Third year they would make 100,000. It's important to note though, in that first 3-year deal, at the end of each year they were able to negotiate their compensations. It's important to remember that, right? Also, Barstool originally, when they were negotiating with Alex and Sophia, they said that for them they have to get the IP. The IP basically is the brand, the Call Her Daddy brand. They said that they're not going anywhere. They're not signing any deal without that IP. So that's also important to remember, right? So after 6 months, Alex went to Dave and Erica, who basically run Barstools, trying to get a raise because Alex takes care of the editing and the social media. And later on, we'll get
It's
into
yeah, it's
the type
crazy.
of editing she does, because that type of editing, I've kind
Mm-hmm.
of never heard about it. I don't know if you've heard about it, Abel, but it's a very interesting way. Yeah, it's a very interesting way of editing a podcast. So we'll get into that a bit later. So at the end, so obviously Alex got that raise. At the end of year one, Alex made 506,000. Sophia made 461,000 after year one. So remember that base salary they had was 75K each, and obviously that salary at the end of year one shows how much bonuses,
Mm-hmm.
merch, and whatever brings up their salary, right? So going into the year two contract negotiations, this is when the HBO exec Peter Nelson gets involved, right? He's dating Sophia, and now he's telling the Call Her Daddy podcast that, look, your podcast is big. You guys are worth more than you're making right now. And the girls have been hearing that from all over the place, and even us seeing it from the outside, we can tell like that podcast is huge. But we did not know the original deal
Mm-hmm.
they had. We just knew they're somewhat employees of Barstool, right? So now let's get to that first let's say offer that the HBO exec gave to Barstool on behalf of the Call Her Daddy girls. They said that they wanted 1 million guarantee, 1 million guarantee for each. They wanted the girls to no longer be Barstool employees. The girls could sell their own merch. They get back the IP, and at that point, Barstool doesn't really get anything, but the girls basically kind of they don't even work for Barstool. They're freelancers. So at that point, Barstool doesn't really get anything per se in that contract. From the original contract they had, Barstool kind of loses like a lot, basically everything. At that point, Dave Portnoy, the Barstool president, cuts off negotiations because he's like, yo, this deal ain't it, right? And that's when the HBO exec Peter Nelson starts shopping Call Her Daddy around. So obviously Barstool hears a bit of rumors about that. They're not sure if it's happening. Dave Portnoy eventually comes back. He's like, all right, fine. I'll give you back your IP. You guys both get new contracts. We keep the alcohol rates, but the merch IP feed goes back to the girls, right? And as we know, we could talk about this a bit later, but the RSS feed for a podcast is literally everything. It's as important. It's as important as the IP, because the RSS feed contains your whole library, your whole episode. So you can go anywhere with that RSS
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
feed, which brings also your whole library. If I'm not mistaken, right, Abel? Yeah, so they finally meet with Dave Portnoy, famously known as the rooftop meeting. So that's the first time they really they'll tell Dave that, okay, yo, we're thinking about leaving, right? And then so basically what Dave Portnoy offers them is, I believe, a great deal. So he says, you guys get 500K guaranteed, both of them. So it's 50-50. You get merch increase plus bonuses, and on top of that, I think one of the most important parts of that of what he offered, he said, you had 18 months left on your contract. We'll cut off 6 months. You only have to be here for 1 year. You get back your IP, and I don't no. I believe no podcasts at Barstool. Barstool has a few podcasts that are at least. I think they have 3 podcasts that are top 15 on Apple Podcasts. None of these podcasts have their IPs. The Barstool owns everything. If you're negotiating with a multimedia company, there's no way you're getting the IP. So he gives them back the IP. At this point, this deal seems a bit too good to be true. And but Alex and Sophia have differences there because Alex loves the deal, wants to take it. Sophia doesn't want to take it, right? And at this point, Alex feels as if Sophia, she fundamentally the thing is Sophia wants to leave. Alex doesn't want to leave because she wants to take this deal, and she felt as if Sophia was moving the goalpost with the HBO exec, because the HBO exec plays a huge role in this, and you've seen over social media people are coming at him. I'm not gonna get
Mm-hmm.
into that, but he quote unquote, I think they call him suit man or whatever. So when Dave Portnoy offers that contract, that the contract at the basically known as the rooftop meeting, he offers them that contract. They go dark for a while, and they go dark because at this point Alex wants the duo to stay together because it's a Call Her Daddy. They're both in it. They make this work, right? And then she's kind of catering to what Sophia wants to do, but at this point, as I said, they keep moving the goalposts, and that's when their contract leaked to the New York Post, and then she just felt as if, okay, look, they seem like they're moving the goalposts literally every single time because Barstool would cater to those points, but then after they would move the goalposts, right? And then finally, I think the breaking point was when the WMB lawyers, which Sophia got, WMB, I think it's a talent agency. Sophia got those lawyers to represent both Alex and Sophia, and those lawyers were changing Alex's contract too, since they're negotiating on both their behalves. And then in that new contract, basically, obviously crazy demands, but also one of the craziest demands was that they get the IP, and they could terminate their contract whenever they want. So Barcelona gets zero security here. So they could literally be in the building for 24 hours, 24 hours, and then they just leave, and then they don't get, and they still get their IP, and everything's good, fam. It's like nothing happened. Obviously, so Alex sees this, and she's like, okay, no, this is just getting too crazy. She goes back to Dave Portnoy, and it's like, okay, yo, I want to get that original contract you offered. Now, as they go through the negotiation, according to Portnoy, Alex now gets 75% um, of the contract, and I believe that brings her up to 750K, which originally was 500K because it was 50-50. So now she gets 750K, um, and this is the point where Alex's deal is getting closer, and now apparently that's when Sophia wants to come back and maybe work out a deal, but the 50-50 is no longer on the table now because Alex is like, okay, yeah, I'm clearly, I know what I'm worth and I know what I'm doing. I should get that 75K. So this is literally where we are until last night, where officially she signed her deal with Barstool. They reached an agreement, and now she's gonna be leading. She's gonna be leading the Call Her Daddy podcast.
Sorry,
But
what
Bev,
are
your
my
take on
thoughts on
this?
this? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
your
been
thoughts.
interesting to watch. Like I kind of know of the podcast. I've heard an episode here or there, but they were quite the sensation on the internet, and but I never knew that they stopped producing episodes because
Mm-hmm.
I don't listen to their episodes that often, and but then
Mm-hmm.
I saw on Instagram Dev Portnoy who
Mm-hmm.
he posted. I think he posted a video well, I'm not sure who posted something, but it was one of either Sophia, Alex, or Dave who posted something saying, "Oh, this is what's
Mm-hmm.
going on." And so that kind of got my attention, and then I saw the episode that Dave Portnoy recorded and posted in their feed, in the Call Her Daddy feed, explaining the entire situation. And I was like, okay, this is a bit crazy, but it's one side of the
Mm-hmm.
story, so I suppose I gotta hear the other sides. And then Sophia posted on Instagram, I think,
Mm-hmm.
um, some stories, but they were like 2 minutes long, saying that some of it was true, some of it wasn't. She felt betrayed, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
S- And then yesterday, you sent me the link to
Mm-hmm.
Alex's video on YouTube, and I watched it really late night, and it felt like she basically she was confirming what Dave had said before. And it was actually quite interesting because I was thinking, I was like, going into this, I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking that there was probably some things that Dave said that weren't true, because this is the guy who's negotiating, right? So he probably wants to portray himself in the best light. But like from what I
Mm-hmm.
can tell, it seems like his account is actually the account of the story. And you know it's actually quite interesting to,
Yeah.
first of all, the
Mm-hmm.
so thinking about it, the podcast landscape is growing every day. You There are these numbers about how it's been growing, and
Mm-hmm.
even before the pandemic, and now that everybody's at home. I've told you about this, how the numbers of downloads are up for most podcasts, and we've seen this for ourselves as well. And so it's definitely like it's growing really fast. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a bunch of changes, and for people who sign contracts, it's quite understandable, especially if you're one of the best podcasts out there, in terms of performance, to want to renegotiate. And so it's quite expected. And
Mm-hmm.
Barstool,
Mm-hmm.
to my understanding, is quite understands that as well. That's why they said in the contract that you could negotiate your salary um,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of every year for the 3-year contract. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the like I was actually shocked that like the first year. So for I just want to ask you. So for the first 4 episodes that were posted, es- were they already posted, and then they negotiated after they saw the download numbers, or it was just before they posted them? Because if it was before, the deals were actually pretty good.
I believe at that point, because the only reason they even knew of each other is because they just through Instagram. They both had each other, so it's one of those where I believe they had already posted their four, and Alex had already posted about it on her Instagram, and Dave Portnoy had just seen the potential it could have, especially on
So
with the
they
Barstool
so they had
audience. I think it was
numbers behind them.
one
Was
of those things.
Alex like popular on Instagram or anything?
I'm sure they had numbers,
Because
but nothing. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think literally
yeah, because
it was just like your
75K in
local
the first
podcast. So
year
it's just
for
like it
like
wasn't nothing big.
just a podcast without numbers is actually pretty good. Plus you have these the bonus structure that they had. They ended up making close to 500,000, I believe, in the first year, right? So yeah,
Mhm.
but you know it's just one of
Mhm.
those instances. I feel like
Mhm.
it's just more so a story of personal, like a personal relationship story kind of thing. You had close to the end of the video of Alex's video, she said that
Mm-hmm.
it's she feels bad losing a friend to a best friend to a boyfriend. So I feel like the drama is mostly between it's that's the drama. The drama is between two best
Mm-hmm.
friends, and having a boyfriend step in where he probably shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have, and creating the personal drama.
Mm-hmm.
And also it's like the other thing that
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that probably created the issues is that uh, so Alex was putting in all the work in terms of editing, and you said we are going to get to this and we could address it now. Editing is really hard, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
the in like
Mm-hmm.
podcasting is well, if you take it seriously, is a lot of work. You have to you have to research your things, and then you have to like come up with a concept of the episodes, and you have to you have to create a content, you have to deliver it the way you want it to be delivered, and then you have to edit it afterwards. And she said that they
Mm-hmm.
record 3 hours worth of material, and then she edits it down to an hour, which is just a grueling,
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it's just a grueling experience, because I imagine doing that would just I would go crazy doing that, and
Mm-hmm.
we yeah, and like we do
No, that's
audio and
crazy
video,
to me.
so we can like divide the tasks accordingly. But just the mere fact that they
Mm-hmm.
weren't doing equal work, and
Mm-hmm.
which meant that like sooner or later there would be some resentment, especially since she got a raise and Sophia didn't, and they didn't even discuss about it. So that was just like
Mm-hmm.
he it was just waiting to happen, exactly. So
Yeah, it was just waiting to happen.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And even the way she edits the podcast, like on that point, like that is so impressive to me because to like as she explains it, she basically
Hmm.
turns the way she edits it. It's like a vlog style. So I've never heard an episode, really, but just to think about, okay, I'm gonna put this moment of the conversation with this one, and the way you see vlog kind of flow together. It's like every single moment of a vlog is boom, boom, boom. Like vlogs used to be like 15 minutes. Like they used to be like long, but now you look at a guy like Logan Paul or whatever, or David Dobrik, or their vlogs are like 4 or 5 minutes. 4 or 5 minutes of boom, 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 everything excitement. So just to think about editing a podcast like that, for me it's insane because you like, what do I take out and etc. Like I don't even want to imagine what it's like. And as I said, I haven't listened to an episode. Like the only reason I heard about them, like you had told me about them. I remember when you first told me, I was like, what? Who is this? But then after, because I listened to the Impulsive podcast, which is the Logan Paul podcast, and they came onto that podcast, and then Logan Paul asked them about like, so are you guys like Barstool employees? Like, what is it? And you could see just the way they answered it, like they didn't, just the stigma attached with working at bar stools is something also that played in that, because originally I believe Alex wanted to kind of go too, right? So that stigma attached to bar stool, which I feel like I still, because that brand is, it's very interesting, but I was just surprised with the way they deal with their talents in terms of podcasting. Like they really are professionals, and they give freedom for negotiation, renegotiations, and everything, and they really don't want any bad blood between their talents. So for me, that's I
Yeah,
was I was
honestly,
impressed with the way
same for me,
Barstool has been
because
handling the whole thing.
we hear these stories about
I guess on that
Barstool,
we could
and
get into the Joe Rogan deal, because the Joe Rogan deal signed a deal in the week. Yeah, yeah, you could. Yeah,
mm, yeah, but just to
yeah, you
finish
could go.
up,
You could go. You could go.
I
Sorry.
I meant that I've just been impressed by how Barstool has been handling this whole situation, because looking from outside, you see these stories and news articles. I remember there's a controversy about their employees not trying to unionize, but there was just this conversation about it, and Dave Portnoy uh, threatened his employees for about like a potential union, and he got sued for it, and they settled, uh, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
AOC Alexandra Ocasio Cortez got involved into it and said that he was violating his employees' rights and stuff. But yeah, so you always hear about this sort of thing at Barstool, but like I was actually impressed about
Mm-hmm.
how he's been going with about the negotiations.